Yeah, morning all. So before I start, can anyone please confirm whether my voice is clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. So in the last class, just I was discussing about this Python software foundation, right? And Python versions. The version that we are using like Python 3.10 and Python installation and execution modes. Two modes of execution, right? Interactive mode and batch mode. We have got like interactive mode and batch mode. So here within this interactive, okay, batch mode, we write set of statements within the editors or IDs and save it by using .py and later submitting to Python. So developing Python application within the editor. Okay. So today like we discussed like Python data types. Every organization use case, right? Every organization use case has got data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations represented using functions. Once observe this diagram once, right? If we talk about any organization, every organization has got data and operations. For example, if you talk example of a bank, right? A bank. A bank consists of, observe this, employees and customers. It consists of customers and employees. Customers has got data and operations. Data and operations. Data like customer name, account number, so this is what data. Customer data. Data represented using data types or variables. Operations like deposit operation, withdraw operation, transfer operation. So these are represented using functions. Employees also have what data and operations, right? Employee ID, employee name, salary, designation, data types are variables. Operations like what are the operations like calculating tax, calculating net salary, functions, right? Okay. So every organization use case has got a data and operations. Data represented using data types or variables, operations using functions. If you take any programming language, C or C++ or Java or Python, they represents all this C or C++, Java or Python, they represents data using data types. On that data, you will be performing operations. Using functions. Okay, they represents data using data types or variables, operations using functions. Observe this, C or C++ or Java compared with Python. So Python supports dynamic data types. Python supports what? Dynamic data types. Dynamic data types means if we talk about C, C++ or Java, if you want to create a variable like x as 10, compulsory the data type defined int x equal to 10, y equal to 4.5, float y equal to 4.5 means compulsory the data type defining is mandatory, right? Int or float. For example, string z. So without this data type defining, we cannot create variables, right? But in Python, directly we can say like x as 10, y as 4.5. Z as hello, right? No need to give that, no need to specify the data type like int X or float Y or string Z. So here, based on the data type defining, you are saying X is an integer variable, Y is a float variable, Z is a string. But in Python, what kind of variable X is? What kind of variable X is means what value you are assigning to this? What value you are assigning to X? Based on the value assigned, the variable X is created dynamically during runtime. If you're assigning the integer value, it is integer type. If you're assigning a float type, it's a float variable creates. If it is a string value assigned, string variable creates. Based upon what value you are assigning, the variable is created accordingly. So here type of y, there is a function called type function. There is a function called type function in Python. Type of y is what? Float type. Why it is float type? You have assigned a float value to it. Type of x. Type of x is what type? Integer type. Why it is integer? You have assigned the integer value. Okay. So type of z. String type. Because you assigned a string value to it, right? Okay. Based upon the value assigned, the variables are created dynamically here in Python. Okay. Now I'm going to discuss 4 cases, right? Now just observe this. What happens internally whenever we define some variables here in Python? So defining variables, Case 1. Whenever I say x equal to 10, whenever I say x as 10, just observe. Internally, one object gets created. Internally, one object with value 10 is going to get created. The object is going to occupy some physical memory location address. That address is given to x. So whenever you say x equal to 10, internally one object with value 10 gets creates. It's going to have some address. Here, 3 things you need to understand. Print x. So before I go right, what x is storing here? What x stores? Don't say like x is storing 10. X stores the address. X stores the address, right? Whenever I say print x, prints the content at that address. Prints the content at that address. 103. Okay, what is the content at that address? Whenever you say print x, it goes to that address and prints the content at that address. What is the content at that address? 10. And if you want to print the address, right, print id. There is a function called id function. Id of x prints the address of x. Address of x means 103070. Print x means it goes to that address and prints the content at that address. And a type function. There is a function called type function. Data type of x prints the data type of x. Integer type. Printx prints the content at that address. What is the content at that address? 10. ID of X prints the address of X. This is the address. Type of X prints the data type of X. Integer type, right? Data type is integer type. So if I want to print the content, print X. If I want to print the address, ID. Type of X, right? Now observe this case to now. X equal to 10, Y equal to 20. X has 10, Y has 20. Now how many objects are going to get created? I want the sessions to be interactive, so please try to respond through voice or through chat panel.
Sir,
X is 10, Y is 20. How many objects gets created internally?
2, sir.
Yeah, everyone try to answer. 10. For Y equal to 20, one object. It is going to have some address. The address is given to X. For Y equal to 20, the address is given to Y. Now, try to answer what is print X?
10.
10. If I say address of ID,
103070.
the address it is going to print. Type of X,
Integer type.
Integer.
integer. You assigned the integer value, right? Yes, fine. Yeah. Print Y, it prints what?
20.
Address, ID of Y,
104080.
104080. Type of Y.
Integer.
Integer type. Sir.
Okay, here what is your observation? Two different variables X and Y with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses. Two different variables with two different values, then two different objects with two different addresses. Right? Okay. Printing the content, printing the address, printing the type. Case 3. How many? Okay, X is 10, Y is 10. How many objects are going to get created here? Try to answer.
Sir, only one object will be created, sir.
One or two.
So
Everyone.
because both have same value, so I guess one only, sir.
Two objects.
Two objects, because X and Y both are different.
So here only one object going to get created. Here only one object gets created. Observe carefully. Okay. X equal to 10, one object gets created with some address. The address is given to X. Before creating object for Y, first it checks any object with value 10 is already available in the memory. If already available, the same address will be given. Means x is 10, y is 10. Think that there is one more variable, z also 10, right? Don't think like three different objects with value 10 gets created. Only one object, and this address is given to x, y, and z. The address is given to x, y, and z. Means all the three variables x, y, and z, they are sharing the same content and the address. Observe this. If x value is 10, y is 20, z is 30, how many objects gets created? If x value is 10, y is 20, z is 30,
3 objects will be created.
3 objects. But if the values are same, 10, 10, 10,
One object.
only one object. Don't think like 3 objects with value 10 with the different addresses won't be created. Now, print x 10, print y 10,
10.
print z
10.
10. Address of x, address of y, same addresses, right? Address of z. Type also going to be integer type. All the three are going to be integer type. Okay. Observe this case 4. Case 4 like that. X equal to, observe this case 4, x equal to 10, x equal to 20. How many object gets created?
So 2 objects will get created.
Yes. For x equal to 20, one more object, right? 2 objects. If I say print x, what is the x value it is going to print? 10 or 20?
So both will be get printed with different address.
Yeah, anyone, any other answer, right? Print x means it prints 10 or 20 or both.
If second assignment is 20, then it will print 20 only.
It should be both.
Okay, for example, your salary last year 50,000, your salary this year 80,000. Print salary, what it prints?
Average will be done.
Always,
Latest one.
yes, always it prints the latest one, right? Here also print x means x value, first it was 10, next line x value is 20. Always the latest value will be considered, that is 20. Address of x 104070. Type of x. Type of x is what? Integer type. Okay. Print x means it always prints the latest value. Address of x, it prints this. Type of x is integer type, right? Type of x is what type? Integer type. Now, okay, if I print again for the second time print x, again print 20 only. Its address, its type. So if 10 times if I execute also, it will print that x value as 20. What happens to this previous object? Is there any possibility of printing the value 10? Is it available, not available, or what happens to the previous object 10? Is there any possibility of printing the value 10?
Overwritten.
So to know what happens to the previous object, okay, just I need to, I'll be discussing a concept called, okay, garbage collector. It's too early to discuss that now, but just I'll give overview of that garbage collector now, but later as part of our course we'll be discussing in brief with multiple examples. Garbage collector, there's a concept called garbage collector. I'll go back to this case 3. Removes, garbage collector removes unused or unreferred object, unused or unreferred objects from the memory. Garbage collector removes unused or unreferred objects from the memory. What do you mean by unused or unreferred objects? Objects whose reference count becomes 0. Then these objects are immediately, objects whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed from the memory by the garbage collector. Objects whose reference count becomes 0, then these objects are immediately removed from the memory by the garbage collector. Here, what do you mean by reference count becoming 0? What do you mean by reference count becomes 0, right? Any object reference count becomes 0, then I'm saying immediately that object gets removed from the memory. And what do you, unused or unreferred objects means objects whose reference count becomes 0. We call those objects as unused or unreferred objects. Objects whose reference count becomes 0, we call them as unused or unreferred. You may ask, what do you mean by reference count? Reference count. Number of variables pointing to an object. Or number of variables storing address of an object. Number of variables pointing to an object or number of variables storing address of an object. number of variables pointing to an object, I'm saying, right? Number of variables pointing to an object or number of variables storing address of an object gives the reference code. Now I'll make you understand these things, right? By saying this, observe this example now. There is an object 10 here. Whenever you say x equal 10, there is an object created, right? How many variables? Everyone try to answer. How many variables pointing to this? How many variables pointing to this, or how many variables storing the address of it?
3.
Three variables.
3 variables. X is pointing, y is pointing, z also pointing to this, right? How many variables pointing? So 3 variables. What is the reference count? What is the reference count?
3.
3, right? Yes. Reference count is 3 because 3 variables are pointing. X is pointing to this, y is pointing, and z also pointing to this. X, y, and z are pointing to this, right? But slowly what I do, I'll modify I'm modifying the y value to 20. And my x value is 10, y is 10, z is 10, but slowly I'm modifying the y value to 20. Means one object 20 gets created with some address. The address is given to y. Okay. Okay. Y equal to 20. Y equal to 20 means, okay, one object got created and its address is given to y. Now y is pointing to the new, see here, y is pointing to the new object. Y is not pointing to, y is not pointing to this, right? Y is not pointing to this, y is pointing to a new object.
So,
Any query was asked?
sir, then this y value assigned is 10, then it will go to the garbage collector, right, sir?
No, 1 second. So y equal to 10 previously, now y equal to 20. Now y is pointing to the new object to 20. Now y is not pointing to 10. Y can point to only one object, right? Y is pointing to 20 only. Now previous object y. So reference count becomes 2, right? Only 2 variables x and z are pointing to this. Y is not pointing. Y is pointing to the new object. Now slowly I have modified the z value to 30. One object with value 30 getting created, right? So now z is pointing to the new object. Z is pointing to the new object. Z is not pointing to this. Z is not pointing to this, right?
So reference count will be decreased, right, sir?
So reference count will become 1, right? So Z is pointing to the new object 30. Z is not pointing to this. So reference count 1 means only X is pointing to the object 10 now. Previously reference count was 3. 3 variables were pointing, but now Y and Z, they are pointing to different objects. They are not pointing to 10. So reference count decreased to 1. Slowly I modified the X value also to 50. Now a object with value 50 gets created. The address is given. Now X is pointing to the new object to 50. X is not pointing to this object, right? Now reference count becomes 0. Reference count becomes 0. I was just saying, right? How come a reference count becomes 0? Means in this manner, reference count becomes 0 means now none of the variables are pointing to this object, none of the variables storing the address of it, right? Is unused, unreferred object. So These are called as reference count 0 means unused or unreferred objects. Immediately garbage collector removes these kind of objects from the memory, right? Understood everyone? What is this reference count and what is this garbage collector? What happens internally, right? This everything happens internally, which we cannot see, right? Any queries in this, anyone? What
Yes,
is
sir. I have one query, sir.
yes?
Sir, suppose reference count doesn't become zero, it stopped to 2 or 1 only. So at that time also suppose sir, we have modified the value of y by 20. At that time, uh, other values for that x was 10 and z was 10. So both will get printed and the new value of y that is 20 will be printed or every value will be removed, sir.
So here very simple. So one thing is x can point x or y or z, they can point to only one object or one object only. They cannot point to multiple objects. They can store the address of one object only. If you are modifying the modified object address, they will be pointing. So here initially the reference count was 3. 3 variables were pointing to this. Slowly you have modified y to 20, z to 30, and is being so you have modified to 20, 30, and 50. Now they are pointing to different objects. So here none of the variables pointing to it, none of the variables storing the address of it, it became unused or unreferred. Previously its reference count was 3. So I'm saying that how an object gets removed means whenever its reference count becomes 0. When its reference count becomes 0 means if none of the variables are pointing to it, none of the variables storing the address of it. Okay. So garbage collector immediately removes that object from the memory. Now based on this discussion, let us go to this case 4 and I was just asking you what happens to this object 10. Don't worry about this garbage collector. I'll be just discussing in brief with multiple examples later as part of our course. Just I will just give an overview of it. Okay, now forget about this x equal to 20 for some time. X equal to 10. What is the reference count of this object 10? Yes.
1.
1, right? Only one variable is pointing to it, right? Only one variable is pointing. Reference count is 1. Okay, slowly what I did, I modified the x value to 20. I modified the x value to 20, right? Okay. X value modified to 20. 20 means a new object got created. Okay, now x is not pointing to this. What is the reference count of this now?
0.
0. Reference count to 0 means it's unused or unreferred. Immediately garbage collector removes this object from the memory. So I was asking you a query, right? Whenever you say print x, it always prints the latest value 20. But what happens to the previous object? It gets removed by the garbage collector. It gets removed by the garbage collector. Okay, I'm going to show you all these 4 cases practically now. Understood, right? All these 4 cases, everyone? First, before we go with practical discussion, say case 1, x has 10, print x, it prints the content at 10. Address of x, the address where exactly it is stored. Type of x, integer type. Case 2, x value is 10, y is 20. 2 different objects gets created with 2 different values with 2 different addresses. Okay. Case 3, x is 10, y is 10, z also 10. Only one object, only one address, right? Only one object with only one address. X is 10 and X is 20. X is 10, X is 20 means always it prints the latest value X equal to 20 only. What happens to the previous one means it gets removed. For example, X equal to 30, I'm saying next. What is print X means what happens? What is the X value it prints? Everyone try to answer. If I say X equal to 30, print X means what is the X value it prints?
30.
30, right? It prints 30. What happens to previous X equal to 20?
It goes to garbage collector.
Yes, it gets removed, right? Garbage collector removes that object from the memory. Okay, fine. So now as I was saying, like whenever whenever we install Python, just to go and check where your Python available in the start programs. 3.10. Within that, the first thing what we see is ideally integrated development environment. Python shell opens in the interactive mode. If you want to interact, you can interact with this Python, right? 4 plus 5, it gives the response, right? Okay. But I doesn't want to work with interactive mode. I want to work with batch mode. File, new file. Comment in Python starts with hash. Comment in Python starts with hash symbol, right? It's not executable. Case 1, defining a variable. Defining a variable, right? Okay. X equal to 10. Print X, I'm saying. Print X. Type of X. Type of X will be what type? The address of X. Okay. So I'm saving here as int1 dot any name dot py extension, right? So now observe, if I say run module, here itself we can run and execute. Here itself we can write, here itself we can execute. Run module. Then its address and it's 10 its type in its address. Once again, just observe run module. Print X 10. Type of X integer type. The address means where exactly it is stored. Now observe this case 2. Defining two different variables. Defining two different variables with two different values. Then two different objects gets created. Defining two different variables with two different values, then two different objects gets created with two different addresses, right? X value is 10, Y value is 20. Print X type of X, ID of X. Similarly, print Y type of Y, ID of Y. type of y, id of y, right? Id of y. Um, into 2. Type of x is okay. Now, okay, print x, type of x, id of x. Can you please answer? The address of x and y, will it be same or different? The address
Is
of
it
x and y.
different, sir?
Different.
Different because the contents are different, different objects, different addresses. See, x value is 10, its type integer, its address. Y value 20, its integer type and its address. The addresses are different, right? Because different contents, different objects. Next, case 3. I'll copy the same. Defining two different variables with same values. Two different variables with same values. Then only one object gets created. And its address. Two different variables with same values, then only one object gets created and its address is written to both the variables, and its address is written to both the variables. X value is 10, y value is 10. Now try to answer. The address of x and address of y, is it going to be the same or different?
Sir, same.
Same.
Same. It should be same, right? The address should be same, right? Address of x and address of y must be same. Because the contents are same, only one object, only one address. So address of x and address of y same, right? 10, 10. Their address, right? The address are same. Contents are same, their types are same, their addresses also same. Now observe this case 4. Defining two variables with same name. Defining two variables with same name, but with different values. Two variables with same name, but with different values. Then two different objects gets created. two variables with same name but with different values, then two different objects gets created and the previous object gets removed by the garbage collector. X is 10, X is 20. Print X, what is X value prints?
20.
20. Type of X, integer type, the address of this 20. Okay, it always prints the latest value 20. Its type is integer, its address, right? Understood all these four cases, everyone? Any queries in this? Yes. Now, case 3, observe case 3. X is 10, Y is 10.0 if I do. Now try to say address of X and Y are same or different.
It's different.
No, sir, it will be same because
So before you answer, try to say no. Type of X will be what type? X.
integer types,
Integer.
Type of Y will be what type?
Float type.
floating type.
Means two different objects created or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So two different objects means two different addresses, right? So one integer object, one float object. Two different objects, two different addresses, right? Address will be different. Okay. Just 2 minutes, like, okay, understood, right? How to define variables. Next, I'll give like just 2 minutes more. I'll take 2 minutes more, right? Data types, coming to this data types, right? Two types. Fundamental data types, collection data types. Fundamental data types, object holding single value. Collection data type, nothing but object holding group of values or multiple values. Objects holding group of values or multiple values. Example of fundamental data type, right? X equal to 10, one object getting created with value 10 with some address. So this is object holding single value, object holding single value, right? Here, collection data type, the name it says like collection of values or group of values, right? Whenever you say X equal to 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, an object. So this is object holding group of values. Object holding group of values or multiple values set. Object holding single value, object holding group of values. Fundamental data types are 5 types. int. Mainly there are 5 types: int, float, boolean, string, complex. Collection data types are 4 types: list, tuple, set, dictionary, right? Okay, fundamental means object holding single value. Here object holding group of values means here internally for this a object gets created, it's holding group of values. For the fundamental data types, 5, collection types 4 types. So I'll be just briefing you about this data types in tomorrow's session. We'll discuss these things tomorrow. And one more thing, right? Tomorrow the link is going to be changed, right? Okay. So this week totally we are discussing about this Python and how what are the applications of Python, installations, execution modes, right? So tomorrow, like who have got registered, who have got enrolled, right? Only those will be getting the link. So get enrolled or get registered to get the link, right? The link will be changed. And if you see that once again, you can see that the payment details they are kept in this. Screenshot. Okay, you can just check this, right? You can. So they have provided that details, right? Okay. Payment details once again they have shared. Okay, otherwise you should have got some mail, right? One second. So you can share that screenshot to durgasoftonline@gmail.com, right? You can just share your screenshot to this durgasoftonline@gmail.com. This Durgasoft online training. Sorry. Okay.
Sir, already I paid the but did not receive any confirmation mail sent to you.
Okay, not a problem. We'll providing you the link, right? Once you provide that screenshot, right? Okay.
Already I sent the screenshot to yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine. You can just give a call to this online team, right? They have given that details, everything, right? So tomorrow the link is going to be changed. Everybody you can just go to that process, registration process, and in anything, right? Anything related to the other things, right? You can just the contact details also provided in the test where they have provided that details, right? Otherwise, you can just take this contact number 9246 212 143. Yeah, this is that online team. That is what DurgaSoft online team contact. Okay, fine. So I'm stopping here for today. Meet you tomorrow.
Yeah.
More discussion on this, right? Okay, fine.
Thank you, sir.